Neoclassicism, the building of a nation. After gaining our independence from the British, we as a nation yearned for stability and an identity that we as a people could call our own. With the artistic and historic knowledge of our founding fathers, we as a nation used neoclassicism as our architectural style. Neoclassicism was a mainstay of architecture throughout the nation. From the U.S. Capitol building to government buildings across the land, neoclassicism is how America followed the roots of an ancient society, to regain the purity, the essence of a time from, according to Leland M. Roth in American Architecture, the first civilized state of primal human. Two great examples of neoclassicism and the birth of our nation is the Bank of Philadelphia, created in 1800 by Benjamin Henry Latrobe, and the expansion of the U.S. Capitol building and dome, commissioned to Thomas Ustick Walter in 1851. The Capitol expansion and the bank both have Greek temple attributes. The two Capitol expansion buildings, or wings, have ornate carvings upon the tympanums, giving a strong Roman-era impression. The heavily detailed cornices on the entablatures of the wings match the top of the drum on the new Capitol dome, merging the three buildings into one. Benjamin Henry Latrobe was born in Fulneck, England in 1764. As stated by the Penn University's Archives and Records Center, the Bank of Philadelphia was commissioned to Latrobe and was the first major example of the Greek revival in America. It had the obvious Roman temple style with massive Ionic columns and the heavy entablature and pediment that was used in neoclassic buildings. Roth noted the bank's interior combined many elements, each of which is used to create and express a space designed for a specific use. The building's main chamber was circular in nature, capped with a dome that was visible to outside patrons. The interior walls were heavily constructed with masonry, and Walth quotes, "When combined, the parts reinforce one another and form one harmonious whole." One of the two structures that are being discussed is the U.S. Capitol building, moreover the additions of the north wing and the south wing, and then the enlarged cast iron dome. The architect of these additions was Thomas Ustick Walter. As written by Roth, Walter was born in Philadelphia in 1804 and studied under William Strickland, who was a pupil under Benjamin Henry Latrobe. Thomas Ustick Walter became the fourth architect of the Capitol, appointed by President Millard Fillmore in 1851, as declared in the Architect of the Capitol site. Walter oversaw the construction of the marble wings, and was additionally commissioned to design and construct of the cast iron dome in 1855. The old dome was made of wood and posed a fire hazard, which proved to be correct as British troops set fire to the Capitol building on August 24, 1814, and then, as Roth points out, another fire started in 1851. In the Architects of the Capitol site, we learn that the new dome designed by Thomas Ustick Walter would be constructed by using cast iron girders, plates, columns, and ornamentation. The weight of the cast iron alone for the dome weighed in at 8,909,200 pounds. By 1851, Roth states, the capital of the country has grown to nearly 9 times what it had been when Thornton had designed the Capitol. With the increase of population, the increase of politicians and government business grew as well. The Capitol building was just too small to conduct governmental policy in a blossoming country. To solve the overcrowding issue, 2 new wings were added, the north wing for the Senate and the south wing for the House of Representatives. Thomas Walter's final design kept the same base and utilized the same Corinthian columns as the original central building, but used white marble and enhanced Greek ornamentation, according to Roth. The dome was not the only addition to use cast iron in its design. The opposing wings, Roth discusses, used wrought iron that was used for the roof trusses, while cast iron was used for all other sections, including ceiling and wall panels, window moldings, and trim. It was the largest use of iron in any public building in the United States up to that time, and roughly contemporary to the new Houses of Parliament in London. The entire Capitol building is stylized in the neoclassical style, and used Ionic and Corinthian columns on the exterior, as well as Doric columns on the interior. Sandstone was a common building material during the early years of Washington, D.C., because it could be found locally in a government-owned quarry and was easy to cut to shape. Builders originally used sandstone for the exterior of the Capitol as well for the interior floors, walls, and other elements. Because sandstone is a soft material, the exterior eventually wore down, and most was either covered over or replaced with harder stone. The interior features remained visible. The design of both the Bank of Philadelphia and the Capitol building emphasized the feelings of both Latrobe and Thomas Jefferson, as mentioned in Ross' American Architecture. That architecture should be an instrument of social reform, a tool to instruct and reshape men's minds and to enhance civil intercourse. The forms of these buildings truly evoke a sense of awe and respect. After the long struggle with the British and a painful separation during the Civil War, our nation needed a symbolic gesture that was provided by these buildings. They created a visible path of healing and progression as a new nation. The mere existence of these wonderful works of art gave a sense of civic virtue and vindicated national pride that extends to the present. As said by Thomas Ustick Walter, according to the Philadelphia Architects and Buildings biographies, if the mass of the people were generally well informed on the subject of architecture, assuming pretenders would be frowned into oblivion, true genius would be fostered, and the nations would look to their architects, not to their arms, for the means of handing down to ages yet unborn the story of their power and greatness.